The ransomware hack of an energy pipeline in the southeastern corridor there is causing major waves at the gas pump, raising questions now about national security. That's the Colonial Pipeline. It's running from Texas all the way up to New Jersey, and this supplies about 45% of the fuel for the coast. A state of emergency declared across in North Carolina because of the run on gasoline at this time.
Yeah, and a cyber criminal gang called the Dark Side, they claimed responsibility for the hack. They released a statement saying they're not political and had no intention of causing a disruption. They only wanted to, quote, make money. Let's
bring our panelists in to discuss. We've got Corey Mills, U.S. Army retired, joining us live there in a beautiful golf course location. He's also a Newsmax columnist. And Winsome Earl Sears, U.S. Marine veteran and candidate for Lieutenant Governor of Virginia. Today we're also having Dino Scaros, presidential historian and a professor of immigration, attorney, and author of Trumped Up Charges, the book on your screen here. Good to see everybody here. Corey, I want to go to you simply because I'm jealous of where you are, and I want to chat with you here about this. Look, I just had a conversation with Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg talking about what's going to happen. Bottom line, he says that this place was attacked by cyber criminals. They're asking for a ransom to get that encrypted key, and more than likely, they will have to pay this ransom. Corey.
Well, again, this really gets the Colonial Pipeline into a very tricky situation. One, if this organization, Dark Side, or any of the Russians or things like that are involved, then that actually would eliminate their capability of being able to actually go forward and apply ransom or to try and provide money to them due to sanctions or due to other reasoning. So it does pose a bit of a problem. But again, we're starting to see a trend in this. We saw the same thing with the way the Iranians utilized cyber warfare against Saudi Aramco. We saw that, the Chinese are trying to do the same thing. We saw the recent hack that happened only a couple months ago from Russia with regards to the DoD. So again, we're starting to see a big increase in cyber attacks, and that's something that we really need to be looking at as far as our national security and how that impacts infrastructure. And again, we have to centralize that into a function that we can monitor more securely.
Yeah, you bring up these points about how important it is that we should be having these conversations. Might be important to know also where the White House would stand, or at least those close to the White House, when it comes to dealing with these cyber hacks. In fact, here's the advisor for cybersecurity, Ann Newberger, on that. Here's that.
Colonial is a private company and will defer information regarding their decision on paying a ransom to them.
Would the administration offer any advice on whether or not to pay a ransom?
So typically that is a private sector decision, and the administration has not offered further advice at this time. Given the rise in ransomware, that is one area we're definitely looking at now to say what should be the government's approach to ransomware actors and to ransoms overall. Liz?
Winsome, go to you here. Your thoughts on that comment, that remark, again, that just sort of pushing it off as a private company here, their own responsibility to deal with what's happening. Would you like to see more from the White House?
I would, because as I'm told, Democrats are very smart, much smarter than Republicans at these things. They like to say, listen, all of the alphabets should have had an answer for all of this by now. I mean, this is a national security issue. The FBI, DNI, CIA, they all should have been looking at the probabilities of this happening since it happened so long ago to Sony, a movie company. And so you would think that somebody would have had an idea about what could happen, what the possibilities are that we could be looking at. And, I'm trying to figure out, well, how the chickens have come home to roost, because you see that Biden closed down the Keystone Pipeline. And what do we do now, pray tell? Is the posse circling back yet? Do they have an answer for this, or is this really still their first rodeo?
That's a great point, too. Dino, my mind goes to, okay, well, who's affected? This is what you need to know, because it's one thing to say private sector, let them handle it. You've got the governor of Georgia now suspending the gas tax, okay? You've got a state of emergency in North Carolina. It's suspending the fuel regulation, basically allowing, so anyone wants to get fuel, they can go and fill up as much as they can. That's just two of those southern states that are affected at this time. And if they don't get back online, this is going to continue. This nation runs on fuel. Your airplanes, your trains, all your vehicles, your supply chains to get food to and from. Not to mention, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. There is this point, you wonder, when do federal authorities get involved, and what can they do? Are they on their own? Is Colonial on their own here?
The government is unprepared here, and we've seen it before. We've seen the government unprepared and say, oh, what do we do? And as Winsome said, we should have been prepared for it all along. We certainly had enough warning. To answer your question, Sean, this affects everyone. Energy is inextricably linked to national security. And again, the Keystone Pipeline, excellent point. We never should have stopped that, because it's like, oh, yeah, well, this is when we need more energy, and we didn't think this would happen. But it absolutely affects everyone. And yes, Colonial is a private company, and maybe the government can't force it to pay or not pay ransom. However, the president and the government should be taking a much stronger stance on this, because it is a national vital interest issue.
Yeah, or at least come forward with some sort of advice. I mean, it seemed like she was withholding that information as well. Corey Mills, Winsome Earl Sears, and Dino Scaros, stick around. There's some more to get to coming up right here on National Report.